Thank you for joining the Office of Water Resources Management Coordination for our first training session as we roll out our electronic submittal process. Development of our electronic portal has been long and tedious, but will make the submission and review process much more timely and efficient. This morning, one of our team members, Lisa Sworn, is going to walk you through our site-specific submittal process. Thank you. Lisa?
Good morning. My name is Lisa. I'll be doing the training session for this morning. What we're going to do today first is we're going to do a brief overview of the e-submittal process. We're going to watch a walkthrough video, and then we're going to do questions and answers. This slide basically states the reason why we developed the e-submittal. Basically, everything that is submitted to us must be electronic. Therefore, we needed to create something that will allow for our applicants to submit electronic applications. So like I said, the reason why we developed the electronic application system, besides from the rule, is that A, it makes it easier for applicants to submit amendments and revisions. It makes staff more efficient at processing these amendments and revision, and it helps speed up the process of getting them adopted. For this particular software development, it started in January 2016, and it concluded in 2017. So basically what the office did is we contracted out with CGI, and we came up with the whole process. After that, we did testing, we did more testing, and we did more testing. So in the beginning, for applications to be submitted to the office, you had several different forms, which totaled 20 pages. After the new rules were adopted, it went to 3 forms, but it was still 11 pages, which was a lot. With this new process, what we have now is we have 11 sections, and I'm going to go through the sections. So the first section is instructions, which is basically, it just gives you basic instructions, so you can kind of skip that. It's not important. The second section is the application type selection, which basically you're going to choose which type of application you are submitting. 3 is qualifications. Here you're going to answer questions to make sure whatever you selected is actually correct. For site-specific, this is where we'll tell the difference between a small site-specific and a large site-specific. 4 is the WIMP area, WQMP area selection, which is basically you selecting from the WQMP areas, like 2 seconds. Section 5 is the application name. Here you will name your application, again, 1 second. Section 6 is where I anticipate a lot of you will have issues. With the new e-submittal process, what we require now is a GIS shapefile. And the GIS shapefile has to be a polygon of the sewer service area that you're amending or revising. Besides from the polygon, you also have to populate attribute information in the correct format. I'll go over that in like the next slide or so. But I anticipate this is where a lot of people will have issues, because if your shapefile isn't right, you will not be allowed to continue with the submission. Section 7 is just more questions, nothing too hard. Section 8 is contact information, again, nothing too hard. Section 9 is attachment upload. Here you will attach everything to support your amendment or revision. Again, that's not too hard as well. Section 10 and 11 is just basically certification. It's certifying that what you submitted is accurate and true, and it's certifying that you actually have the authority to submit the amendment or revision you're submitting. Altogether, these 11 sections take about 17 minutes if you do it properly. This is what I was talking about with Section 6. We have created directions for a successful shapefile submission. I highly recommend you go over this in detail, but basically, a shapefile isn't just one file, it's many files put together, and you have to have all the files necessary in order to submit a shapefile successfully. Section 4 at the bottom tells you what information must be populated and what it should say. Again, this is available on the e-submittal application. And so now we're going to watch a walkthrough video of site-specific.
Salutations. The purpose of this guidance is to provide a walkthrough for submitting a site-specific amendment. Please make sure you have read the guidance on the GIS Shapefile requirements before starting the service. Let's select site-specific and hit continue. We are now on section 3. This section ensures that you have selected the correct application type. Answer all questions honestly. The first question asks if the proposed amendment is associated with a specific project or activity. The answer must be yes, or you should not be submitting an application to the department at this time. The next question asks if you have consulted with the designated planning agencies. The answer should be yes, otherwise you should not be submitting an application to the department. Then you will be required to select the corresponding designated planning agency. If your proposal falls in an area that does not have a designated planning agency, then you will select an A, and by default, NJDEP is the DPA. Since the proposed amendment I will be submitting is in Gloucester County, this is the DPA. The next question asks if the proposed amendment is in the Highlands or Pinelands area. If you select yes, you will then be required to select which area or areas it's in. You can add rows and you can also remove pivots. If you select yes, you will then be required to list the areas that the proposed amendment falls within. You can add rows, you can also remove them. Prior to submission, you must consult with certain entities outlined in the rule. And this is what this question is asking you. You should select yes, otherwise you should not be submitting an application to the department. Then you will be required to select all the entities that you contacted. However, I would recommend that you select C list, knowing that at the end of this service you will be required to attach a list of all the entities you consulted with. The next question asks if you have sent requests to the municipalities and counties for a letter or a resolution regarding the consistency of the proposed amendment. This should also be yes, otherwise you should not be submitting an application. This question determines whether or not your site-specific is large or small. Answer honestly. If you select yes, the service will determine that it is a large site-specific and it will ask you additional questions. If a change in sewer service area is proposed, it must comply with the delineation criteria outlined in the rule. Otherwise, you should not be submitting an application. If there is a change in sewer service area that is being proposed, you must initiate a public notification process. Otherwise, you should not be submitting an application. Since this is a large site-specific amendment, you must develop or revise a wastewater treatment capacity analysis and develop or revise a gap analysis. Otherwise, you should not be submitting an application. Then select Continue. If you select No, the system will determine that you are a small site-specific and you must answer some additional questions. If a change in sewer service area is proposed, it must comply with the delineation criteria within the rule. Otherwise, you should not be submitting an application. And you may continue. We are now on Section 4, which is the eWQMP area selection. Here you will select the water quality management planning area that the proposed amendment falls within. I am using a shapefile in Gloucester County, therefore it is the Tri-County eWQMP area. If your proposed amendment spans across multiple eWQMPs, you can also select those. You can also clear them, and you can also click and unclick as well. Section 5 is application name. What I would recommend is you type in the project name, whether it's site-specific large or small, and a date. And select Continue. Section 6 is where you will upload your GIS shapefile. Please note that the service will not accept AutoCAD files. If you need additional guidance on what is required of the GIS shapefile, there is a separate video, there is guidance posted on our website, and in the upper right-hand corner, you can select Help. Please make sure that your pop-up blocker is disabled or you hit Control while selecting the link. This guidance will pop up and it will give you directions for a successful shapefile submittal. Please read all the instructions to ensure that your shapefile is accepted by the service. Once the shapefile is uploaded, it will be processed by the service. It's best to remain patient as the process can be several minutes depending on the size of the shapefile and the information within the attribute table. However, for this shapefile, the process was about a minute or so. Over to your left, you will see information about the shapefile, which will be populated in the attribute table. It also lets you go through the layers that were intersected. So we have the municipalities. These are the two municipalities. The environmentally sensitive areas. There was an intersect with it. Therefore, at the end of the service, you will be required to submit an HSD or an HIA. It also intersected the Delaware River Basin. So at the end of the service, you will be required to do something else. And it just tells you which WQMP area it also got a hit on. So below the shapefile submittal is where you would put in the blocks and lots. And you can add rows if it's more than one lot, more than one block. You can also add a range, which we will select. You'll put in the block and the start lot and the end lot. And you will select OK. Keep in mind that the shapefile will be processed again. Then you would select your county and your municipality. So I'm going to remove these. You also have the option of certifying that a valid block and lot combination does not apply. Section 7 is service details. In this section, you will be providing the WIMP document name that you are amending if one exists. So you will put in. It's going to ask if the proposal is in conformance with the municipal master plan. You can select yes, and if it's not, then you will need to explain why. It will ask if it's in conformance with municipal zoning. Yes, and if you select no, you need to state why it's not. The following question is the proposal in conformance with the county master plan? If it is, you will select yes, and if it's not, you will need to give a reason why. Is the proposal to expand an existing wastewater treatment facility or to establish a new wastewater treatment facility? If it's yes, then you will have to select what exactly it's doing. Is it a new surface water discharge or groundwater discharge? Are you expanding? Are you abandoning the system, or is there a change in discharge location? And then you will need to answer if the proposal request includes a rebuttal to any environmentally sensitive areas. Then you will select what you are rebutting. And you have options here. You can add more than one. If you select one by accident, you can also remove it. If you did not intersect with any environmentally sensitive areas, then the answer would be no. So we're going to select continue. Section 8 is the contact page. Here you will enter contact information for the applicant, the agent, and the property owner. Anything with an asterisk is mandatory. I would highly recommend that you save to my favorite contacts. That way, if you come back into the service to submit a different application, instead of populating all this information, you can just go to the drop down and you will have your contacts here. And then I will hit continue. Section 9 is the attachment upload page. Here you will attach all the required documents needed in order to process your proposed amendment. So I'm going to go ahead and attach all my information. I have now uploaded all the required attachments in order to support my proposed amendment. You can go over here to the status and everything is green, so we're good to go. If I uploaded anything by accident, I can always remove them by selecting the X. You can also add additional attachments by going here, and there's a lot of different types of attachments you can submit. And now we're going to select continue. We're now on section 10, which is where you will certify that everything that you are submitting is accurate. And you will select continue. Section 11 is certifying you are who you say you are. The response to the challenge question is not case sensitive, which is nice. And your certification pen. And you will select certify. It's uploading to our geodatabase. You have now officially submitted a site-specific amendment. So let's select continue. This page gives an overview, a summary of the application. So we have some general information right here. We have contact information, all of the answers to your questions, followed by all the attachments that you would have submitted, and just the certification information. Now we can select return. We are now back in my workspace. Under my services submitted, you can see that we have submitted a site-specific amendment and that our submission has been successful. It has the date created, the date modified, summary, history, and a PDF, all of which is the same information. So congrats, you submitted a site-specific amendment.
And so now we are open for questions. Yes.
In the video in section 4, there was a spot for block and lot. If you have, what happens if you have multiple blocks?
You can skip that. That's only for site specific. If you're from Monmouth County, so if you were submitting a complete WEMP, you don't have that option.
But what about for site-specific amendments?
You can,
sometimes they're more than one block.
You can skip that. It's not required. It's optional.
So where do you provide the block and lot?
Not under.
She said it can provide more than one lot.
Yeah, I showed that. And the thing, you can add a range of blocks and lots. Oh. It's in there. You can do that.
Thank you.
Do we have any webinar questions?
No.
Anyone else for any questions?
Going once. Going twice.
Okay, and just to let everyone know that this webinar will be posted on our website from start to finish, and you can access it there.
The videos.
As well as the videos. If you have any further questions or follow-up questions, you can email them to me at Amanda, amanda.lebon, LEBON, at dep.nj.gov. All right, and thank you everyone for coming out today, and for those of you out there on the internet watching us, I appreciate it. Thanks.